Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. The information shared here is for educational purposes only and is not a recommendation to trade.
Good morning to you all. Thanks for joining me. This is episode number 2744 of the Daily TraderBite. It is February 11, 2026. Non-farm payrolls today. A few things to talk about. The number was delayed from last Friday till today. We got a blowout number. The market responded to the upside on the indices, but volume really remains anemic across the board. So we'll discuss that here for a minute. Again, thanks for joining me. Let's take a look at the pre-market summary sheet here from Convergent Trading. Risk on sentiment, mild risk on sentiment. As you can see in the heat map to the left center of the page, the RVOL is quite poor this morning. We have relative volume at 32% in this moment versus where it was in this moment over the average of the last 20 sessions. So really, really, really low. The market kind of sitting sideways most of the session, anticipating this this payroll release, and we just got it. And you know, the volume ticked up a little bit. I think the half-hour volume on this, you know, the number came out 17 minutes ago. The half-hour volume here is jumped from about 7,000. No, it jumped from about that's the something like 6,000 to 35,000 currently. So this kind of clues us in that the market was just sitting there in anticipation of this figure. Okay. Other than that, you know, what's the big news? The unemployment rate ticked down, by the way, expected at 4.4, came in at 4.3. U.S. President Trump says he might send a second aircraft carrier if U.S.-Iran talks fail. Crude is responding to this. Crude is up 2.14% and is challenging a $65 handle, trying to stick in there. Crude also has pretty poor volume this morning. Let me switch to the crude chart. Yep, 70,000 contracts traded. Remember, this is relative to the last 20 sessions, so it's not like, you know, we're comparing where we are today versus the last 20 sessions, and it's been very, very active recently. I mean, by comparison, something isn't right. Let me check. I have a feeling something isn't right because these volumes should have caught up. I'm resetting my data. It seems to be on, yeah, it seems to be okay. I'm wondering why the data, I'm going to reload the current data, make sure, because it is not adding up for me. Just logically, it's not adding up. It was low, but not this low. There you go. Yeah, looks like the data, there was missing data there. It's jumped up to 74% now in the ES, and it looks like it's coming into line with what I would expect. Yep, the S&P showing 156,000, that's correct. It was showing 68,000 before, so it's coming into line here with expectations. So good thing I caught that. Can everybody hear me? How are you all doing? Okay, so what's moving? Macro products. You have gold above the $5,000 mark. You have the Dow holding on to 50,000 in the indices. You've got silver popping higher to 84 again and holding on. Crypto is still getting crushed Crypto still getting crushed on decent volume, but overall, the treasuries expected a lot more movement in the treasuries as a result of this release today, but we're not seeing it there. We're not seeing the movement there. Really, the range is 229% in the 10 years, but you would expect a lot more movement than what we've got here. And then the FX definitely responding. So it's kind of a macro-driven day, which is what we would expect for the non-farm payrolls. Let's jump into, well, I'll show you this while I'm here. This was yesterday's crude, and I talked yesterday and I explained that crude really is looking to release to the upside. It is the buy retest zone is below us, the LIS was below us, and what crude did yesterday is a push through a little bit, but the target was 65.50-ish. And that's basically where we are today. This is today. You could see crude pulled down into and through this LIS. I marked it as prior LIS. I have a new LIS for today. Remember the LIS, if you don't know what that is, it stands for line in the sand, and it's basically the zone where we expect, if that zone doesn't hold, we expect a retest and a shift in bias. The current bias, if the LIS is below current prices, then the bias is leaning slightly more long than short. And if it breaks through to the other side, then you get the better opportunities because it's likely to catch folks off sides. And you could see yesterday the LIS was pushed through a little bit, came right back in. Big battle in this area. You could see the big dots in crude here, and moved the point of control down, shifted the point of control down from day to day, and then by the time the crude pit closed, it got above the LIS, retested it in the overnight session with a collision there, and then started to run away. And because of this battle right here, you can see that excess. It's not a normal excess because you'd want to see this wick at the top or the bottom of a swing, but essentially crude tested down and came back in, making this the big zone where everyone who participated in this big bubbly area right here is likely to get caught. This LIS is also in line with today's full session mid and full session VWAP, which overlap. So I'm monitoring this zone. So what we expected yesterday is shown in this sheet here, coming up to 65. Coming up to 65.50. 65.50 has already been accomplished by crude, and there are collisions up top here. You see those collisions, that battle right there. The expectation here is that it's likely to stall out for a little bit, gather some fuel, and start testing the 66 handle. There's nothing here telling me, of course, news could come out, but there's nothing here telling me that the buyers are losing ground or the buyers are weak in crude. Okay, multi-distribution overnight profile, 3 distributions. The point of control is at the top of the range. Pretty healthy rally up in crude. Let's drop down into the S&P. The S&P had its, I did not move the LIS since Friday's session. Yesterday we poked through a little bit, came back up, and then we poked through again. We're testing below the LIS and unable to hold. Bullish bias coming into today's session overall before even the non-farm payrolls came in. Had a bullish bias, and now it's proving out. We're seeing some strong collisions coming into the 7,000. This is a millennial figure. It's going to have, we expect that it's going to have quite a bit of option type action there, And so we expect that it's likely to see these kinds of collisions. But what we're seeing here is offers being lifted by force. So if we look at the delta in the zone, we'll see that the delta is really climbing. So here, let's take a look at that for a minute. So here you go. You see the delta kind of poking up, peaking up right there into that. You could see the imbalance in the footprint. See those green prints all throughout, green, 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 then it gets quiet, green, 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 then it gets quiet. This is fairly, yeah, this is fairly bullish action right here. And this means that, unless it gets down and starts to clear this zone out below this 69.92-ish, you're really not going to get a lot of support on your short side. This is very, very bullish. So what are we expecting for today? Well, the non-farm payrolls behind us. There is a fair bit of news-based, political-based activity going on today. The expectation here, let me look at the imbalance. Imbalance is 81% long. The expectation is we're right up against the overnight high. Squeeze through the overnight high. We're opening in range. Expect some sort of a rebalance pullback, and then we are likely to resume the trip back up to the 70-30 and through to the next key area up, which is in that 70-50 mid-century figure type zone. Okay, so unless it takes out the LIS here, I'm only interested in longs, and I'm willing to wait as long as it takes for an actual legitimate setup to come in. The secondary is open, goes sideways, poke through the overnight high, and because we have a half hour still, but with these collisions and the fact that we're still not outside of yesterday's range, we have that prior settled stat in play. Take out the overnight. We'll see if we have an impulse down. Look for a pullback against the opening print, and then back to the LIS we go for the prior settle. That's your secondary scenario. So if we're looking short, we're looking for prior settle, which is 69.6150, and back into the LIS again. If it breaks the LIS this time, these guys are in quite a bit of trouble, and we're likely to see 69.30. We're likely to see 69.30 right quick. So those guys are going to be panicking. But again, there's quite a few collisions, quite a bit of lifting, but notice that the lifting is getting a price response and that we're not giving up price yet. But if it starts to give up price right down here into the 69.92 and falls back through, the move down is likely to be swift, as a lot of these players are likely to balance out. The Nasdaq, same thing. The Nasdaq did manage to hold its LIS yesterday pretty well. Poked through it overnight. Nice little wicks down below, just shoving its hand under the water surface to see what's there. And then comes back in, and it's above the LIS, bullish there. Exact same scenario in the Nasdaq, looking to target the 65,670 from the prior month or the prior week. Actually, the prior month. This price right here, tag that, which coincides with the prior week's close as well. We kind of held that area multiple times, so we're looking for it to push into this area here. Otherwise, the Nasdaq has has quite an air gap down in here if it pushes through. Okay, if it gets this LIS, it's not likely to hold what it did the other day. It's likely to see traders clear out pretty quick. Okay, so that's it. We'll keep it at 15 minutes. Hopefully you gained something here today. Let me know if you have questions. You can always add, if you're coming in past post live distribution, live streaming, you can always leave your question or comment in the comments section. I try to go through those every once in a while and answer the questions that are there. The most common one is, what the hell is an LIS, and what is a DGP, and what is this and what is that. So if you have questions, feel free to pop them in there. Okay. Otherwise, I invite you to subscribe to the channel and like the video so others can find it. Take care.